Have you ever liked a woman, spent time with her, made her laugh, and still somehow ended up in the friend zone, wondering what went wrong? You did everything right. You were kind, you were attentive, you showed up. And yet, she pulled back. She started dating someone else. Someone who, from the outside, seemed to put in half the effort you did. That feeling is one of the most confusing and quietly painful experiences a man can have. And if you've been there, I want you to know something before we go any further. You are not broken. You are not unattractive. You are not unworthy of the kind of connection you want. I'm your host, and this is The Gentle Mind, where we uncover the real psychology that creates desire. Today we're going deep. We're talking about the 7 signs a woman secretly wants you but will never say out loud. And more importantly, we're going to talk about why those signs exist in the first place and what kind of man naturally draws them out of her. And I'll warn you now, the final one is incredibly powerful. It can change everything fast and almost no one uses it correctly. So stay with me. Here's the truth that most men were never handed. When a woman is attracted to someone, she rarely announces it. Not because she's playing games, not because she wants to make your life harder, but because female attraction is fundamentally different from male attraction. It operates in a different language. And if you were never taught that language, of course, you've been misreading the signals. This was never your fault. Nobody taught you this. What you were taught, probably through movies, through older brothers, through trial and error, was that attraction works like a transaction. Be nice enough, be present enough, say the right thing, and she'll hand you the result you want. But that's not how her psychology works. That's not how any human psychology works at depth. What creates desire in a woman is not a checklist. It's a feeling. It's a series of emotional experiences that build on each other. It's an atmosphere you create without forcing it. Once you understand how that atmosphere is built, everything changes. You stop chasing. You stop overanalyzing every text. You stop performing. And ironically, that's when she starts leaning in. But first, let's understand why she doesn't just say it. Evolutionary psychology gives us a useful map here. For thousands of years, female attraction had to be cautious. Choosing a partner was a high-stakes decision, and expressing desire openly carried social and physical risk. That wiring hasn't disappeared. It lives in her subconscious. Even in a modern woman who is confident and emotionally articulate, there are deep patterns running in the background that govern how and when she expresses desire. She will test. She will observe. She will pull back slightly to see if you chase or if you hold your ground. She will read your micro behaviors, your tone, your posture, your response when she's unavailable, long before she makes a move. Her brain is running what researchers sometimes call mate value assessment, constantly scanning for signals of safety, strength, and genuine interest all at the same time. Here's what that means for you. The signals she sends when she's attracted but hasn't spoken it yet are not random. They are consistent. They follow patterns. And once you know the patterns, you stop second-guessing yourself and start seeing clearly. So let's walk through them. The first sign, and one of the most overlooked, is prolonged eye contact. Not the polite social kind, the kind that lingers just a beat too long before she looks away. The kind where she looks back again to see if you're still looking. That is not accidental. The human brain releases oxytocin during extended mutual gaze. Researchers have noted that prolonged eye contact between two people can accelerate feelings of closeness and even attraction. She knows this on some level, even if she can't name it. When she holds your gaze, she is letting you in. She's giving you a small, deniable invitation. What do you do with it? Hold it. Don't break it nervously. Don't smirk like you caught her. Just hold it. Let a slow smile come naturally and let the moment breathe. Eye contact is a conversation before the conversation. The man who can hold space in silence, who doesn't flinch, who doesn't perform, that man feels different. He feels safe and yet slightly unreadable. And that combination is magnetic. Here's the line to remember. The man who can hold her gaze can hold her attention everywhere else too. The second sign is mirroring. When a woman is drawn to someone, she unconsciously begins to match their physical presence, their posture, their pace, their vocal rhythm. This is called behavioral synchrony. And it is one of the oldest, most reliable indicators of deep engagement and attraction. If she crosses her arms when you do, leans in when you lean in, laughs at the same moment you smile, that is her nervous system moving toward yours without conscious permission. What most men do when they notice this is either ignore it or overinterpret it and get nervous. What you should do is recognize it as confirmation. She's tuned in. She's tracking you. Keep being exactly as grounded and present as you are. Don't speed up. Don't get louder. Don't try harder. Just stay in your rhythm because your rhythm is exactly what's pulling her in. The rhythm you set is the rhythm she follows. The third sign is manufactured proximity. She finds reasons to be near you. She sits next to you when there were other options. She lingers after a group conversation ends. She finds small logistical excuses to interact with you again. None of these things look dramatic from the outside. She's not going to throw herself at you. But she keeps appearing in your orbit, and it's not coincidence. Women rarely pursue directly. It goes against that deep evolutionary wiring we talked about. Instead, she creates opportunities. She puts herself in the space where something can happen. She's opening a door and waiting to see if you walk through it with any intention, or if you stand there looking confused. Proximity is the invitation. Presence is the answer. If you're making sense of all this so far, hit subscribe and join the Gentle Mind community. It helps more men learn what they were never taught. We put out content every week on real psychology, real strategy, and the kind of knowledge that quietly changes how you move through the world. Now, let's get into the deeper ones. The fourth sign is that she remembers small things. You mentioned your favorite album once, weeks ago. She brings it up in passing. You told her a story about your dog, and later she asks how he's doing. You said something about a goal you're working toward, and she circles back to it. This kind of recall is not incidental. Memory is selective. We remember what matters to us. When she's storing the small details of your life, she is emotionally invested in you, even if she hasn't admitted it to herself yet. This is also a cue for you. It tells you exactly the kind of man she's drawn to. The man who sees her back. The man who remembers that she hates mornings and prefers tea over coffee. The man who catches the small things other people miss. Intentional listening is one of the most underrated tools in this entire conversation. When you recall small details, you're not just being thoughtful. You're showing her that her words land somewhere. That she's not just filling silence. That you are actually present. In a world where most men are half distracted, half performing, a man who genuinely hears her is rare. And rare things carry value. The man who remembers the small things makes her feel like the big thing. The fifth sign is playful tension. She teases you. She challenges your opinions gently. She gives you a little friction in the conversation. Not rudeness, not hostility, but that particular light resistance that says, I'm interested enough to push back. She's not trying to win an argument. She's testing your ability to hold yourself without collapsing. This is emotional challenge, and it is one of the most exciting signals you can receive. Polarity is a real force in attraction. When there's a masculine energy that holds steady and a feminine energy that probes and tests it, when the masculine doesn't fold, doesn't get defensive, doesn't get anxious, but just stays warm and grounded, The chemistry between those two people can become electric. What most men do when a woman challenges them is either cave immediately to please her or get defensive and overcorrect. Neither of those is attractive. The move that works is to stay calm, smile, hold your position with lightness, and maybe toss it back with a little humor. Let her know you're not rattled, that your sense of self is not contingent on her approval. That kind of groundedness is what masculine presence actually means. It's not about looks. It's not about status. It's about a man whose inner world is not available to be destabilized by a little friction. That energy is felt before a word is spoken. It's felt when you walk into a room. It's felt in the way you respond when things don't go perfectly. And it is deeply, fundamentally attractive. Be the calm in the room, not the storm. The sixth sign requires a little more nuance to read, but once you see it, you'll never miss it again. She asks about your personal life. Not in a polite, surface level way. She wants to know if you're seeing anyone. She asks how you feel about something, not just what you think. She asks what you're looking for. These aren't casual questions. Women don't ask these things without reason. When she wants to understand your emotional world and your availability, she is quietly taking inventory. She is building a picture of whether there's a space for her in your life. This is where calibrated vulnerability becomes a genuine tool. Not oversharing, not performing sensitivity to seem evolved, but the willingness to give real, honest, grounded answers. To say what you actually value without apology. To acknowledge what you've been through without framing it as a wound you're carrying everywhere. Real vulnerability is not weakness. It is the courage to be honest when most people would deflect. And when a woman asks these deeper questions and you answer them with calm honesty, you become three-dimensional to her. You stop being a nice guy or a mystery and start being a real person she can genuinely connect with. The difference between a real answer and a performed answer is something she will feel immediately. The seventh sign. This is the one I told you to wait for. Selective withdrawal. She pulls back just slightly and watches what you do. She becomes slightly less available. Her responses slow down. She creates a little distance and she waits. Most men panic here. They double down. They send more messages. They ask if something is wrong. They start performing harder to win back the attention. And every single one of those responses communicates the same thing, that her approval is running your nervous system, that you need her engagement to feel okay. And nothing collapses attraction faster than that. What she is actually doing is running what psychologists call a proximity test. She is checking whether you are self-contained enough to hold your own ground when she steps back. Whether your life is full enough that her absence creates a small, interesting mystery rather than a crisis. Whether you are a man who is choosing her or a man who needs her. This is where controlled unpredictability becomes a profound advantage. Not game playing, not manufactured coldness, but having a real life that genuinely has its own gravity. Interests that matter to you, goals you're working toward, people you love spending time with. When your life has that kind of substance, you naturally give attention in a way that feels like a gift rather than a constant. And dopamine, that neurochemical that drives craving and pursuit, it is triggered not by certainty, but by rewarding uncertainty. When she can't fully predict you, when your attention feels earned, when she notices that you have a world she isn't yet fully part of, she becomes drawn toward that world. The man who needs nothing from her is the man she finds herself wanting to give everything to. Now here's what all 7 of these signals have in common. None of them are tricks. None of them are scripts to memorize or tactics to deploy. They are expressions of a man who has done the quiet work on himself, a man who knows his own value without announcing it, a man who is genuinely interested in people without being needy, a man who is grounded enough to stay calm when things are uncertain, present enough to remember what matters, and honest enough to be real without being desperate. That man doesn't need to chase. Women move toward him because being around him feels like something. Because he is, in the truest sense, attractive. Not just physically, not just financially, but energetically, psychologically, in the way that only a man who understands himself can be. And here's the thing. You don't need to be perfect to embody any of this. Perfection is not the goal. Awareness is. The moment you understand why these signals exist, why her psychology works the way it does, why the approach you were taught wasn't working, you begin to change how you show up. Quietly, without announcement, without performance. And that silent shift is what creates the results that the loud, effortful approach never could. You don't need a better version of the old strategy. You need a completely different map. The men who understand what we talked about today don't chase. They don't perform. They don't wonder constantly if she likes them because they've stopped outsourcing their confidence to her response. They've built themselves into men whose presence speaks before they open their mouth, whose attention, when given, actually means something, whose lives have enough gravity that being invited into them feels like a privilege. That's not arrogance. That's the result of doing real inner work combined with real understanding of how human psychology, specifically female psychology, actually functions. Use these tools with respect. Use them with intention. Not to manipulate anyone, not to run strategies on women like they're obstacles to overcome, but to show up as the fullest, most grounded version of yourself. To stop accidentally communicating insecurity when you actually have so much to offer. To let the real you come through clearly rather than through a fog of anxiety and overthinking. The world has enough men performing confidence. It needs more men who have actually built it. You just learned something today that most men never will. Not because they couldn't, but because no one ever laid it out for them this plainly. You now have a framework. You have language for things you felt but couldn't name. You have the ability to see signals you were missing and to understand, with real clarity, what she's actually communicating when she can't say it out loud. That changes things. Maybe not overnight, but in the next conversation, in the next interaction, in the quiet, accumulated way that real growth always works. You didn't just watch a video, you leveled up. And it happened silently, just like the best things always do. If you're ready to stop chasing and start becoming the man women genuinely desire, subscribe to The Gentle Mind now. Turn on notifications because the next one will shift your reality again.